See, now the situation is I started setting up the interviews with companies. Already one student they attended. Only thing is, right before I take your profile with the prospective employers, I want to make sure that how comfortable you are with the topics, whatever I covered. All right. So again, so I'm not saying, right, I covered everything, right? So as I told you in DAX manual, if you see, right, Microsoft site, lot of things are there, lot of. But again, I covered the widely used, popular, and frequently used DAX queries, right? Sometimes they might ask you outside of this one. uh, right, so in that case of situation, okay, I agree that, right, so you need to note down, you can come back to me, okay. And planning to put some more videos, right, around DAX, beyond whatever I covered in the past, right, so that all the majority of the DAX queries, if you watch my videos, right, but importantly I covered all the important DAX functions. See, in the interview they'll ask you the question about, just brief me about your profile. If they find your profile is the best fit, right, so they will call you for an interview. Okay, so they will call you for an interview. And again, there are some cases, yes, we have to influence them, right? So see, nowadays what happens, interviews are fed up of going through each and every profile. Let's say if I need a data analyst or data scientist, I'll call HR, I'll tell them very strictly, boss, we don't have time to spend interviewing each and every candidate. There are some candidates, they are smart, they up to 30 to 40 minutes they will handle it. Okay, after 30 minutes, when you gradually started asking the advanced part or even medium complex part, they get stuck. So end of the day, for that 30 minutes, right, I'm getting wasted with that guy. So likewise, if I spend per day 10 guys, right, so 3 hours gone. So what we do is we instruct the HR guys, hey, please send me the profiles from all the tier 1, tier 2 companies only, okay, or analytics company. If they are from analytics company, give top priority. Okay, we will screen it there itself. If people are already working with IT companies, tier 1 IT companies, fine, so we can save a lot of time, right? So again, so within that it's a lot of some fake profiles are there, difficult to choose, but instead of going through each and every profile, so this is the filtering process. And then what they do is they'll call you, and the HR, they will give them in the question answer. Nowadays even TCS or Infosys, Accenture employees, if you find their profile, so the HR guys, let's say I'm a HR guy, what I do is, okay, already from analytics, then they gave me some 5 or 6 questions. We already filtered. We received 500 profiles, but we are going to of the 500 only, let's assume that 50 profiles are related to tier 1 or tier 2 companies, tier 1 companies, because damn sure these guys would have already worked on the in the real time scenarios. That is the assumption. Still, before sharing the profile with us, the HR people sharing it with us, what the HR guys they do is they'll ask some questions, 6 or 7 questions. With answer, they will be having the answers in their sheet. Okay, they will ask them. If they find it good, right, then they will send the profile to us. That is the process. Okay, and just brief me about your profiles, right? So just looking at the profile, they'll ask you this question. Can you please tell me something about your experience and what work you do currently? What is your current project? What is your day-to-day activities? And what is the size of your team? Are you an individual contributor, or you are a manager or a consultant? And what is your role? So why don't you, someone can open up? If I ask you something like, can you brief me about or tell me something about your profile, or brief me about your profile. See, your profile I already received. It is my response to go through your profile, but still I just want to understand. And if you give me a gist of what is your strength and what challenges that you post, right, that will be helpful for me. So what is your day-to-day activities? Can someone open up? Who is there in this call?
Hello,
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
uh, sir. This is Radha here.
Yeah, I can see that. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. 1 minute.
Good, good. See,
Yeah.
Radha is opening up. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so I'm thinking you are my interviewer.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hi Ram, this is Radha here. Basically, I'm from Andhra Pradesh, and I'm married. And coming to my professional life, from past 4 years, I have been working as a Power BI developer with top one of the MNC company with the TCS. And my roles is there I'm a Power BI developer. There I'm responsible for creating the reports and dashboards, and I'm very strong at data modeling and visualization part. And then DAX part, I'm very much strong. And coming to my latest project, my current project is I'm working on health related project. That is my that is US Cardinality. He is one of the top MNC pharmaceutical company. I'm working a project for that. There we created so many dashboards and reports based on the requirement what they given. This is a
Excellent.
small introduction about myself and my professional career.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so good to know that, right? So you okay? So what? Good. So what is your day-to-day activities? What do you do? What is your team
My
size?
Uh, actually, my team size is 5 members. We have two developers in my team. So I'm also one of the developer. My day-to-day activity is we will get the data from the different data sources. Most frequently we use from the SQL server. At the same time, we have a data administrator also. So we'll take a data from the SQL server and we load it into the Power BI. So according to the requirement, we'll do the data cleaning process, and then after that we'll do visualization part.
Okay, so what? How you can say, right? So my day-to-day activities are analyzing the data. Analyzing data, I perform different activities like understanding client's problem, find the different solution to solve the problem of the client beyond the scope of our job. So apart from the task assigned to us, so if you are working for Walmart, right? So in that case, your day-to-day tasks are different, right? So you can volunteer, you can go and explore the data, you can analyze the data. Since you are part of the service-based company, TCS or Infosys, right? So you are the one working for the customer, and whatever the requirements given to you, you are supposed to work on that, right? So as per the requirements given by the customers, right? So what we do is we do the data analysis, and then we perform before we start using the data, we just check the quality of the data in case of any problem with the data, and if that can be addressed by us, so we can we do we in collaboration with customer, right? In collaboration with customer, we go ahead and address it. But basically, in the design document, they detailed out everything, including the data cleaning process, everything. So for example, there are some data set, right? So there are some duplicates. Since you said health data, can you tell me what columns? Do you remember the column names? Can you tell me at least 3 or 4 columns?
Columns like we'll get a data like patient related data,
Mm-hmm.
and patient inpatient and outpatient related data,
Mm-hmm.
and what and all the medicine they took from particular time.
Mm-hmm.
These are the sample columns I'm telling for you as an example.
Mm-hmm. So, how many number of dimension tables and fact tables they were using it?
Around there are 3 to 4 fact tables, and then more than 8 dimension tables approximately we will use for this requirement.
Okay, okay. So, but you are saying 4 fact tables and how many dimensions?
It's around 8 to 9.
9 dimensions. Okay, 8 to 9. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So, very good. So, how many subject areas you were working on it? So, you have only one star schema, or you have any other star schema?
No. We worked only on the star schema.
Only one star schema, isn't it?
Yes. As of now, I never get opportunity to work with any other uh, schemas. Only stars of now,
So,
only
how
the
many number
working.
of reports that you have created in the current project? How many dashboards?
Okay. See, I enter my career, or you are asking about
No,
any
no, the
particular
current
work?
current project.
In current project, I created a dashboards like 5 to 6 dashboards. That is example. For example, I can say that employee performance dashboard. Basically, that project I'm working, that is a pharmaceutical company. So there I created dashboards like a employee performance dashboards, and then medicines delivery dashboards from manufacturer to the patient, and one more dashboards like sales performance dashboards. We
Okay.
created like this type of dashboards.
So, what are the KPIs that used? Do you remember the KPIs? At least tell me 2 or 3 KPIs, key performance indicators in your dashboard.
Okay, total profit,
Mm-hmm. Good.
total profit, and then hmm, uh,
Can say revenue, right? Revenue is common
yes,
everywhere,
total
right?
profit and revenue.
Gross revenue or gross margin percentage,
Yes,
gross margin,
percent.
and you can say the revenue also, right?
Yes.
And what formula that you have used it for that, for the margin, revenue, and all? How did you compute that? Do you remember the
There I
form?
use there I use the statistical DAX functions
Mm-hmm.
to find variations and the standard deviation. I use this type of statistical DAX function, and then for knowing the probability, and for finding a total sales, I use the SumX DAX function, and like SumX and average, all these DAX functions I have used.
Very good. The next question to you is you said you worked on dashboards and reports also, right? And what is the difference between dashboard and report?
Okay. See, dashboard is a single page canvas. But coming to the report is a multiple, it should have multiple pages. And report is daily basis, we can build, we can generate a report. But a dashboard, it contains the important data.
So
It is
what?
a single page canvas. There we can analyze the dynamically. We can analyze the data through dynamically.
Okay, so in the dashboard, we can
Okay.
capture only the key information, important information that are required by the
Yes.
relevant line of business managers. You can say that way, right? So that is
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
And what about your exposure on SQL? How good are you with SQL, SQL queries, writing SQL queries?
Yeah, I'm good at SQL on on a daily basis. According to the requirement, we will use SQL also. So I'll give out of 5, I'll give 3.5 rate.
Okay, so out of 5, 3.5 only, right? So what is view? Can you tell me what is view?
Yeah. View, it's a virtual table based on the result set of a table. A table like a normal table, view also contains the rows and columns. It is a virtual table of result set. It
Mm-hmm.
means it is a temporary table.
Okay, can I update a view?
Yes, we can do update view. We can update a view. Correct.
How
Yes.
can you update a view? So, like how you update a table, can you update a view?
Yes, we can update a view.
But you said it is a virtual table, right?
Still, we can update a view.
Okay, when you update a view, what will happen to the underlying table? See, view you created based on an existing table. Let's say you have an employee table. You created a view based on an employee table, employee view, right? The employee view is the virtual table.
Okay.
When you update a view, obviously the underlying table data will also get updated, isn't it?
Yes.
So that you
Yes,
need
correct.
to remember it, okay? That you need to
Okay.
understand. So next one is what kind of joins that you have done it, used it in, you did it in Power BI, Power Query Editor or so.
Okay. So I use most of the time I use joints. Most of the time I use a left join.
Okay, okay.
Left join.
So what is left anti-join? Any idea?
Left anti. No, sir. Only left joint I know. Left anti. No.
That you are saying so forget about the current project. How about,
Oh,
because I could see that for the past 4 years you have been working into Power BI, right?
mm-hmm.
Did you not come across using anti-join, left anti-join, right anti-join?
Anti joint.
Left anti-join, right anti-join. I trained you, right? You forgot that?
You mean left outer joint, right outer
No, no, no,
joint,
no.
right?
That is different. Left anti-join, right anti-join is different from left joint, right joint. Okay,
Okay.
and
Okay.
all right. So anti-join, this is a joint type, using which we can return rows that are only contained in the first table. Let's say you have two table, and the left
Okay.
side table, whatever the data is there, right? So that one
Mm-hmm.
will get written. So excluding the data set that are there in the second table and the common data between these two data sets. So if you see the manual in Power BI, right, so it has given very clearly and explained you also at the time of explaining the Power Query Editor and all, right. So the left anti-join, if you see, very simple one, the Venn diagram, when you look at it, so you can understand. So look at this Venn diagram. If you look at it here, so only the left side data, okay, but left side data, but excluding the common values between these two data set. If you look at this data set, country ID year 34 and year 1132, so what is the common value between these two? 3, right? It excluded 3, so 1 1 2, and but 4 is not part of this one, right? So
Okay.
non-matching value between the two tables. We just reframe the definition. Non-matching value between the two tables and also the data from the left side table. Can we make it like
Okay.
this, right? We can define it that way.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So you can see the diagram. You remember this diagram, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Someone has an A minus B, superb, right? Say A minus B, simply A minus B, minus. Yashashwani gave me the correct answer, right? So right antigen is B minus A, that's it. So what is
Okay.
except? What is except in SQL server? We have something called except, right? What is except?
It excludes the values which are in a first table.
Mm.
Like a minus b, it result a minus b. It give values which are in a table only.
That's what in SQL server we say except, whereas here we say the left anti-join here. Okay,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So that is how we say. But in this case, we cannot say right outer join. Instead, we will have to change the order of the table.
Okay.
See, they might ask you this question. So this is A minus B, right? This is A minus B. The same as this one, right? Same as this one. This is left anti-join. But in SQL Server using except you can use it. And if I want to do the right anti-join in SQL, how do I do that? So you can change the order, that's all. You T2 here and T1 here. That's it, right? So that's how you can do it. So remember this, it might confuse you. Okay, the next one is what are the M functions that you used? M language related functions. M functions. See, when you point and click, and if, for example, you are deleting a column, right? Remove columns. Table dot remove columns. Table dot split, something like that, right? And list functions are list dot content, list dot combine, list dot sort. These are the examples for M functions. Please remember that anyhow we are not going to use, even if you have not used M functions extensively, whatever the thing that we do it, right, at least you remember it. Simply what we do is, let's say you are going to change the data type. You want to change the data type and you want to remove a column. For example, I just want to remove this. For example, row ID is not required. If I remove this column, what language, M language, so this is a remove column, table dot remove columns. And if I want to split this, or replace values, something like, right? Table dot remove columns, and instead of hyphen I just want to put it like this: table dot remove column, replace value, right? Replace, table dot replace value, remove columns, list dot contents, list dot combine, list dot sort. So these are the things that you can do it. So did you use append in Power Query Editor? What is append?
Append is a combining of the two tables, irrespective of their column order.
Irrespective of the column order.
Yes, yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, yes. For merging tables, we should know, we should have order of columns is should be same. But for appending, we no need any column order.
Let's say I have 4 columns in table A, and
Okay.
right. So the all the in the 4 columns, right, all the 4 columns are text, and the last column is a date column, or let's say a numeric value. Okay. Whereas in the second table, last 3 columns are text and first column is a numeric value. Do you think it will work?
Data type should be same, but column order is not to be same.
No. The append the same rule, right? The column order should also matters, and the this one, the data type, right? Data type should also be correctly specified, right? Otherwise, it will cause problem. For example, every month or every weekly data. Let's say every month you want to generate some monthly report. For that, you take every week data. The end of every month beginning, previous month 4 week data you take it in a file. That file, let's say the third last week file, instead of the number value, text column came in there, or mistakenly the number column got converted as a text data. When you load it, what will happen is the numeric data you cannot insert a text data, it will throw an error, right? So in that case, the column order also matters, and also the data type also matters. Okay. So what kind of situation that you have used append? The same thing, right? Monthly reports we need to generate. There are some requirements like monthly reports we need to generate. And in that case, we need to append all the previous month previous month 4 weeks data. We need to append it in a single file, right? So in order to generate reports, in that kind of situation, we use append. Okay, and there are situations like the quarter, every quarter, month on month data also we append it into a single file to do the analysis. Okay, and the next question is, so what is cardinality? You might have worked on the data modeling part, right?
Cardinality is it defines the relationship between the tables. What type of a relation between the tables is there, like one to one, one to many, many to many?
Okay.
This type of relation it defines cardinality means.
What is cross filter function?
Cross filter function, it is for many to many relationships. We will use this cross filter function.
Okay. Very good, right? So many to many, only for many to many relationship. So what are the options are there as part of cross filter? Supposing if I double click on it, what are the options are there? Let's take a simple example, one to many here, right? So one to many, this is my calendar and this is my one to many. So when I double click on it, what options are there in cross filter? This is the question asked by the recent employer to my student, other student. Okay, and single and both. Remember this, single, right, and both. So these two options. So how do you handle many to many relationship? How do you handle many-to-many relationship? You said cross filter function. I can use it, or right. So
Yes.
why don't you explain it in detail? So what is
Oh,
how do
yeah,
you
okay.
how do you implement the? Is
Okay.
it possible to use the tables which have many-to-many relationship upfront?
No, no. I see. Basically, many to many relationship is not possible, but it is possible remotely. Remotely means in the sense, for example, I have a two type of a tables. Like one table is books table. One more table is like a authors table. See, if I just want to know how many authors can write how many books at the same time, how many books written by how many authors for in this scenario, what I'll do first, I'll do the see I'll have a books table and authors table. For in these two tables, first step is I should identify the unique columns between these two tables, and after that these unique two columns I should add in. I'll create a bridge table, then I'll add these two unique columns in that bridge table. Then next step is I'll create a one to many relationship between these three tables, like a books table, author table, and bridge table.
Okay, so good. So once you create a relationship between these three tables, right? So you are
Okay.
all set to do the filtering, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yes, yes,
The
yes.
same example I use it here. All of you, please watch here. Students and student course and course, right? So in the interview time, don't say author, book, and student and course. For you people to understand simply, right? I've taken a simple example, right? So in the real time world, we cannot avoid many to many relationship. Yeah, for example, a single student can a single student would have taken more than one course. A single course would have been taken by multiple students, more than one student, right? This is a many to many relationship. In this case, we have created a bridge table here, right? So in the bridge table, like you said, right? So all the unique values, right? The course ID and student, what are the, so here I cannot join these two tables first of all, because we don't have any common column between these two tables, number one, right? So number two is, if I bring in the course ID and if I make it part of the students table, it can lead to some kind of redundancy and vice versa. So for that purpose, what will we create a bridge table? The bridge table will have the composite key, right? The student ID and the course ID, and these two columns are foreign key column for these two tables, right? Course ID is a foreign key column for this, and student ID is foreign key column for this one. So what I am going to do is I am going to link these two columns, student ID and student. See, student course, right? It is a bridge table. This is called a bridge table or link table. And the next one is the course ID and course ID. I'm going to link it. You cannot do it, right? So without using this one, right? First of all, you cannot combine these two tables. For example, somebody is asking you, I want to display the student name and then and the course name and the course fees, right? So the student name is available, but the course ID and course name and course fees is available in this table, right? So here you need to have a bridge table. So which student has taken which course ID, right? So here the course ID can be a duplicate one here, whereas the course ID is here unique value. The student ID is unique here. Okay. So but here in this table, a single student would have taken more than one course. A single course would have taken by more than one student also, right? So hence there will be a duplicate in this column and this column. But the combination of these two columns makes the unique record, right? So that is the one you need to remember it. For example, now if I go here, my report canvas, let me just, this is the table, and I just click on three different tables quickly. sorry, I just unselect it and then select this one to see the data here itself for reference purpose. Course ID and fees, and here what I do is I just use the student ID, sorry, not this one, and course ID and student ID. Right, so student name probably I can bring it here. Okay, so these guys have taken, the course ID for each student, right, is available here. And if I do the same thing, right, so yeah, so I can use this one here itself, yes. And the fees, all we need is this one. It is doing the filtering perfectly here, right? So to verify this, let's go and check the data set. Not that one here. So here itself we can check it. Why to go and check? So here, yeah, I just sorry. So this is the course ID fees, right? And yeah, I'll use this table to show the student ID and student name. So in total 6 records are there, 6 students, and the course ID fees. So let me just check why it shows. Yeah, only yeah. So this is the lookup table kind of thing. Okay, this is the course table. This is my student table. That's what we have done it here, right? The course table and students table. Here we have only 3 records are there. Here 6 records are there. So what we are doing is, right, we have I have created a column. I will probably put that one also here in a separate table, and course ID and student ID. This is the bridge table. I'll put it in the same order for you guys to refer the data also alongside this one. This is what the report we want to generate it. The student name, and for example Raj student ID is 10 and 10, right? He has taken course ID 10, and this guy has taken the same student 10, right? He has taken 2 courses, 10 and 40. So 10 and 40, the fee is 100, 200. For Raj, 100 and 200. If I sort it in student name, it is doing the filtering correctly, perfectly. It is doing the filtering. Okay, if I don't have the bridge table, it is gone, right? So here, if I don't have the bridge table, how will you do that? First of all, so one option is you can bring in the course ID and you can make it part of this one. It is violating the normalization rule because it can leads to redundancy. A single student can take in more than one course, right? So in that case, you need to specify the student ID and course ID, again student ID, course ID, and student name. You are going to repeat it more than one time. It is a redundancy. It is not the right way of doing it. And also, you can, instead of bringing the course ID here, you can move the, you can make the student ID part of this one. But again, it can also lead to some kind of redundancy. So that is also the reason we use bridge table. So now you tell me, when will you use the option both in cross filter?
When I want to do the many-to-many relationship, that time I'll enable both option.
No, here it is many to many, right? You have bridge table. It is doing the filtering job perfectly, right? Why you need a cross filter both? Here, did I do any both here? Nothing, right? It is a any direction only. It is a one to many, and this is one to many. That's all. When will you enable cross filter both?
When we don't have a bridge table.
When you have, okay. So when you don't have bridge
Have a
table,
bridge table, that time manually I'll enable the both option. Then I'll do the many, and then I'll deal the many-to-many relationship.
okay. If you don't have the bridge table, how will you link these two tables? First of all, in this case, you don't have the common key column, right, between the two tables, right?
Okay.
1 second. Here, the student ID and student ID, course ID and student ID, and let us do something like count See what happens here. What I am trying to do here, I wanted to see each course is taken by how many number of students. Instead, what it does is, it does the count of the total number of students. Total number of students is how many of them are there here. Here we have 6 students are there, right? Simply it counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It puts 6 for, it is repeating the 6 for all the course ID. But here 10, 30 for, student ID 10, 11, 12, right? Only these 3 guys, they have taken the courses, right? So ideally, for the course ID 10, how many students they have taken this course? This course is taken by 2 guys, right? 10 and 11. Look here. So the course ID 10 was taken by how many students? 2 students here. And then the course ID 40 was taken by 2 students, right? So student ID 10 Raj and student ID 11 Ram. Please concentrate here. So student ID 10 means Raj, student ID 11 is Ram, right? So these 2 guys have taken course ID 40, and the 10 and 11, again Raj and Ram, they've taken the course ID 10, and the course ID 30 was taken by 12, only 1 student. So 2, 1 should come, but it counts the entire student, right? Total number of students in this table, and it says 6 students for it is repeating. This is not correct, right? Actually 30 only 1 student, 10 2 student, 42 students, right? This is not doing the filtering. What I do is, proper filtering is not doing it. I just go ahead, I just wanted to see this one, right? So how many number of students have taken. I just make it both. Look here. What happened? So what is happening? It is counting correctly. It is doing the filtering correctly. So what happens here is, so far so good. So I guess all of you are able to grasp what is many-to-many relationship and how to address the many-to-many relationship. To simply introduce a bridge table, something like this, right? We are able to address the many-to-many. This is how we implement the many-to-many relationship in real-time scenario, by introducing a bridge table. This is called my bridge table, right? The course ID is coming from, the course ID is coming from this table, and the student ID is coming from this table. Okay, fine. So we need a bridge table to implement a many-to-many relationship. You cannot implement it directly, and also it is not a good practice to implement the many-to-many upfront. Okay, so you need to have a bridge table. Fine, now introduce a bridge table, right? So after you implemented the bridge table, now it is doing the proper filtering. Supposing I wanted to filter, let's say I want to use the course table to filter the students table. There is no direct relationship exists between these two, isn't it? There is no direct relationship exists between these two, right? So there is a one-to-many here and one-to-many here, and if I enable bidirectional relationship, the cross filter both here, so what will happen is, I can filter the student course, the course table can filter this one, and also the course table can go in this direction, right? If you enable cross filter both between these two tables, this table in turn go and filter this table. I just remove all these things. See, previously, look here. If I do this, what is happening here is, my course table was unable to filter the students table because there was no direct relationship exists between this course and students table. I just move this up. There is no direct relationship exists between these two tables, right? If I want to if I want to use my course table to filter this one, it is not doing. But here the course table can filter this table in this direction, right? The data, the course ID is flowing from the course table to the student course table. Similarly, the student ID flowing from the any direction, only in this direction. This students table can filter this one, course table can filter this one, whereas the course table cannot filter students table. The one option is if I enable this direction as a bidirectional. So what will happen is the course table can filter students table. Since course table can filter student course can filter students table, then you can get this one. Since I removed the bidirectional relationship, right? So now I just go and enable it both. So there are two options here. Remember this: single, both. It's pretty simple. If you have to implement the same in SQL query, right, you need to use left join, right? Pretty simple. Look here, it is doing perfect job. Compare this data with this one, right? It's perfectly doing the filtering. And if I wanted to see each student has taken how many number of courses, each student has taken how many number of, all of you please type it in the chat room. Let me see how many of you are able to. Now listen very carefully. Course table can filter student course because there is a relationship. Can student course filter course table? No, right? Because the direction is going from here to here. It is not going from here to here, right? Hence, student course cannot filter course table. Similarly, student course cannot filter students table. If I want the student course to filter course table, I need to enable this one bidirection. And if I want the student course to filter back the students table, you need to enable cross filter, direction both. Got it? Okay, now we will work out on this one. Supposing, right, I want to use the student table to filter the course table. Each student taken how many number of courses. I just create another table. Now look at this data and you tell me how many number of student name here. And each student taken how many number of courses. I just put the course ID here. And instead of course ID, I use count. We need basically count. So Raj has taken 2 and Ram has taken, Mahesh has taken 1 course, right? It is doing it correctly. So here the same thing, right? So 2 1. Okay, in this case let me do one thing. Student name, and I have used okay, let me do one thing. Let's see if I want to use this one here, course ID here. So 333, right? If I want to filter if I want to use my student table to filter the course table, right? We don't have direct relationship exists between these two, hence it is returning 3 here for everything, right? So in that case, what I do is I simply go ahead and enable the cross filter direction between, so that what will happen is the student table can filter, since we have a relationship here, right? Student table can filter student course, and student course in turn go and filter the course table. That kind of situation, you need to enable cross filter both. But is it advisable to configure the cross filter option as both? Is it advisable? Look here, it is
No, it's a bad practice.
why it is bad? it's kind of a loop, right? For example, you are using multiple tables, multiple dimension tables, single fact table. What will happen is, for each dimension table and fact table, if you enable the cross filter direction both, what will happen is, it's kind of a loop, right? So in both direction, it starts filtering it, right? It's unnecessarily consuming the resources. What do you mean by resources? Memory, CPU, all the things, right? So in that case, how will you filter the data from one dimension to another table? We use cross filter function, DAX query. This is very simple, right? Instead of enabling it manually here, we use cross filter function. In the cross filter function, the last option is both. For example, if I want to use my course table to filter my students table, so in my cross filter function, the first argument, so I need to enable the cross filter direction both here, right? So if I want to use this table to filter this one, I need to enable this direction too. If I want this table to filter this one, I need to enable bidirection here. Take for example, if I want to use my course table to filter the students table, we need to enable cross filter direction both here, right? So what for that, I'm going to use a function called cross filter. Inside the parenthesis, you can specify student course, comma, student course, student ID column, comma, students table, student ID, comma, both. That's all. So in that case, you don't have to enable it explicitly like this. This is not the best practice to do that. Hope you understood the cross filter option perfectly, right? With this, so you understood how to implement many-to-many relationship. Using bridge table, we can implement it. And also, if you want to filter a dimension table, a one dimension table, another dimension table, you can enable a bidirectional relation both. So that way you can achieve it. Okay. So the next question is, okay, so what are the DAX functions that you use it? How many number of DAX functions that you use it? Which one is your favorite DAX query, DAX function?
Most of the time I use DAX functions like all function, filter function and calculate function, and then total YTD, total MTD and total QTD and related function. These are the most DAX functions I used in my projects. My favorite one is calculate.
Very good, very good. That is what I was expecting, right? So calculate is kind of right. It's kind of a brain, right? So it's not we cannot say brain. So that is the one drives other functions also, right? And also the calculate function. What is the advantage of calculate function? So what you can do with calculate function?
By using calculate DAX function, I'll do the context filtering. Filtering I'll do.
Now using calculate function, you can modify the existing filter, right? Or you can override the existing filter. You can create a filter also using calculate function, right? You can create a filter context. You can create a new filter context. You can modify the existing filter context. So that is what we can do with calculate. So is it possible to do the context transition from row context to filter context? Can we do that? How do you do the context transition with, give me a simple example. For example, I'm going to create a sales, for example, here, one second, here, there is no, price is not the right. You just think, let me just do one thing for you people to understand. I just make this a price. Let's say quantity into price. When you multiply these two, you can get the sales amount for each line item. So for this line item, what is the sales amount, right? The invoice amount. Forget about, let's assume that you don't have this column. So quantity into price will give you the sales for each line item. I'm going to create a calculated column here. I'm going to create a new column. Look here, this is my sales amount. Quantity into price, it gives me the sales amount, right? So what I am going to do is, can I use SumX function here? Can I use SumX function here in the calculated column? If I use SumX function, what is going to happen? If I use SumX function in a measure, what is going to happen? If I use SumX function in the calculated column, what is going to happen? For example, I'm going to use SumX here. SumX Okay, first of all, can I use SumX here? I'll just, let me do one thing. SumX of table. Yeah, you need to use this table name here. What is the table name here? Sales W04. This is the syntax. SumX. See, all the function, any function that ends with X, those are all called your iterating function, iterator function. All these iterator function, the first argument is supposed to be a table name. Okay? Table name. And followed by this, you need to specify comma, and you need to use this one, same thing.
Second argument is
Expression. You need to specify the second argument is supposed to be, look here, you can see the syntax here, right? It's the SumX table syntax. First argument is table, second argument is expression. In this case, the expression is some formula here. You just think that expression in this case is the quantity into price. It's getting stuck. What is happening here? For each row, it evaluates the expression, but it scans the entire table, right? For the entire table, row by row, it does the evaluation of this expression, and then it does the sum. For each row, for the entire table, right, it multiplies quantity into price, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, etc. And then it does the sum for the entire thing, and it gives you the total here. Right. So what I am going to do is, I am going to create another column. I am going to use calculate now. So now what happens is, this SumX function is not filtering, right? It is not applying the filter context. It is not applying the filter context. So what I am going to do is, I am going to use the calculate function here. Calculate. I am going to simply use a calculate function here. Look here, these two column values are same, right? So this column value and this column value is same. The formula here for these two columns, the formula are same, but only difference is I wrapped this sumX function by calculate function in this case, right? When I wrap the sumX function with calculate, it does the filtering, row wise filtering. Sorry, it applies the filtering context. So with this you are able to understand, using calculate function we can transition from row context to filter context. So this is called context transition. Got it? So this is one of the examples. So using calculate function we are able to do filtering, right? So that is what is happening. See, basically, what do you mean by context? Can someone explain me? Or rather, why don't you volunteer? So why don't So what do you mean by context? Row context or filter context? So row by row evaluation, right? It evaluates. So in this case, I simply multiply these two columns. I did not use sumX. I did not use any aggregation function. Simply I use these two columns and then I took the product of these two columns. I got this one. But when I use the sumX function, it is doing the aggregation for the entire table. It is not doing the filtering. For each row it does the filtering, right? It should do the filtering. But in this case, it was doing the row by row evaluation. This expression got evaluated row by row. So hence this is called your row context. In general, calculated column does the row by row context, right? Row by row context. It evaluates your expression row by row, calculated column. Remember this. But when I use sumX function in the calculated column, it is doing the overall sum. It is not much helpful. And if I use calculate function, right? See, the sumX function is not doing it is not applying the filter context, right? So whereas here it is applying the filter context, right? Though the total sales is this one, so this sales, right, out of this sales, for this row what is the sales, right? It does the automatic filtering, isn't it? So that is what the beauty of using calculate function. Calculate function helps you to transition from your row context to filter context. Fine. So now if I can use the same thing, but I can use the same thing with this sumX function in a measure, right? So when can I use the row context? When can I use filter context? If I use sumX in the measure, I can get the total sales amount there. For example, I just copy this one. Tell me, what is the difference between sum and sumX?
Sum means it is just like the normal aggregative function. It is used to find the aggregate for numeric values, sum for numeric values. And sum is used to find the aggregate.
Sales amount, sumX measure. So what I am going to do is I am going to use some code here. $7.18M, right? So what I am going to do is I simply use the sales amount measure here also, 7.18M, and I just, when I drag and drop a text column or categorical variable, instead of product name, right? So let me do it. In this case, product name has so many things here. Products. I just drag and drop the category here. The moment when I dragged and dropped the category column, the entire amount got splitted like this, right? In furniture, of these total sales, the furniture total sales is this much. For entire office supplies, we made 22,95,000 out of this total sales, right? When you add all these things, you'll get. So here we did not write any special function, or we did not use any separate function to filter this one, right? When I just listen very carefully here, I just remove this one. Instead of using chord, I created a table, right? 7.18, which is nothing but 71 lakh 17. This is nothing but 71 lakh 79,000. Okay. The same thing I just copied here to a table visual. Only one record is there. The moment when I drop in this category or any text column here, it automatically filters this. We don't have to write any separate measure for this. Out of this total 71 lakhs, 79,000, 13 lakhs we made for furniture in the furniture category. Office supplies we made 22 lakh, and technology we made 35 lakhs. So what is happening here is the filtering context, right? This is called filtering context. Automatically does the filtering. The category table, right, is filtering the sales table. So in this case, everything is in a single table. Right. In the case of star schema, where sales data comes from sales fact table, this one comes from our dimension, category dimension table. When you simply drag and drop the category table, category column along with this one, what happens? It applies a filter on your underlying data model. So what will happen is the category table, and it's filtering your this one. Like here I have shown you. See, you assume that this is your sales table, this is your category table. The category table will filter your sales table behind the scene, right? It does the filtering automatically. The moment you drop in the category table, from behind, it applies the filter on this data model. So for each category, it goes, okay, 3 categories are there. It filters your category table. You assume that this is a category table, okay, category dimension. Furniture category, you will get filtered of all the data. Only the first record. First record is the furniture will get squeezed. Only one record will be there. The corresponding data related to furniture will get filtered here, and then it applies the sum, and then it skips to the second record. Second record you have the office supplies, and all the records that are related to office supplies in a sales table will get filtered, and it applies the sum on that record. This is how it does the it does the aggregation. You got it? So when behind, see, all in the matrix or table, the moment you drag and drop, this is what is happening behind the scene. The filter is applied. In this case, the row wise filter. For example, instead of using that matrix pivot table, if I use it, the same thing, right? So it does the row column. In this case, category. If I bring in another column, segment. This is very important concept. Remember it. And I have something called segment here. So okay, I put segment in the columns here. Look here, it does the split. It gives me the breakdown of my 71 lakh, right? So it gives me the, look here, this is my total sales, 71 lakh 79. The moment when I dropped in the segment in the columns, right, what happens is it did the filtering automatically. Let's say you have a separate dimension table called segment, you have a separate table called category. Category will get first filtered furniture, and within the furniture, in the segment table, it goes and checks the first record is consumer, and then it applies the sum. Okay, what is the total sales we made under furniture category for the consumer segment? So for this row column, it did the filtering automatically behind the scene. This is called initial filtering context. Right? The filtering is done automatically. The moment you drop in more columns, right, so more text values, it does the filtering automatically begins. And so category table, segment table, and sales table will get filtered automatically. So right, so this is called filtering context. And using calculate function, you can modify the filtering context. You can create a filtering context. And what is all function? What is the difference between all and all except all selected?
Sir, before filtering, before applying the filtering, we'll fetch the data. This is all.
Before applying the filter?
Before the filter option, we'll do the fetching of data from a table or a column of a table. But all except is after the filter option.
Wait. All function will return the entire data from a table or from a column also, but the all function removes the filter. All function removes the filter. See here, it did the filtering automatically, right? So for in the furniture category, under consumer segment, how much sales we made in total. In office supplies, right? And when I use the all function, what will happen is it removes the filter. It will not. So what will happen is it repeatedly display these values for these three categories: 38 lakh 24. 341, 38 lakh 24, right? Okay, if I use it for the table, what will happen is the entire table, this value 71, 79, 71, 70, 71, 79, it will repeat everything there. Okay, so we don't if you want to display the same value to be across the rows, right, then we use all function. In simple time, using all function, we can remove the filter. That is what we can do. So okay, what I will do is I will start with a simple example. So this is what is happening, right? I am going to create a measure now. So with this, I am going to wrap up. We will have a round 2 on this Monday night. Okay, so round 1, round 2, I will share the video also. You watch it. Okay, so this can help you to prepare for your interview. Some extent, okay? But it will give you confidence, because these are the important function, all function, all selected. So what is the advantage of using all function, Radha? So why do we need to use all? So using all, we can remove the filter. So you cannot use all just like that. You will have to use all function with calculate only. So let's say here my expression is sum of sales amount, comma, here I'm going to do all function on my sales W04, okay, sales W04, and I'm using category column. Either you can specify the table name, sales W04 itself, or you can specify the specific column. You can specify more than one column also. So what will happen is it will remove the filter on the category column. So this is my category column, right? So what will happen, we will see now. So all measure, using all function, you can compute the percentage or ratios. If I drag and drop, what will happen is this value, total sales, will get repeated for each records. For each record, this total sale will be repeated. Okay, that means it is not applying the default filtering. The table is not filtering the sales table. It is not doing the filtering. It is simply ignoring the filtering on the category. That means, hey, in the data model, don't use the category table to filter your table. That is what we are saying. So this value repeated across the rows. Now if I wanted to see what is the contribution of revenue or sales by each category against my total sales, 13,56,342 divided by this one, so what is the percentage, and this one divided by this one, what is the percentage of sales. And so I want to see each category, what is the, or which category made highest sales in terms of percentage, right? So for that purpose I can, so in that case I need to create another measure. I'm going to use so don't worry, I'm going to wrap up with this. Okay, and here I'm going to use divide function. So you can see all these functions, right, in the interview: divide function, the cross filter function, and sum function, sum x function, what you need to tell, so they'll be happy. So and all of here it's not all, and we have created that measure, right? So all measure, the all measure, we removed the filter on the category column. So hence, see, basically what it does is this one, see what this one does is divide this value. So you take this value and divide this value by this one, divide this value by this one, divide this value by this one, divide this value by this one. See, in Excel it is pretty simple. You can you can create a new cell, and then you can simply specify this cell, the location, and this cell location, right? So this one divided by this one, it will give in Excel, right, the percentage. But here it is not possible. Okay, so for that reason we are creating two measures. So in this measure what happens is, we are taking this value, divide this value by this value, you will get the percentage. That is what is happening. So here I'm going to, so rather here what happened, so 13,56,342 divided by this one 0.19, 22,95,000 divided by this one 0.32, this one divided by this one divided by 1, obviously, right? That's all. So now in order to so now this column is not required, all measure column. So using all function we can remove a filter on the whole table, or you can remove filter on a specific column. So in our case we have removed the filter on the category column. Since we removed the filter on the category column by using all function, the overall total is getting repeated here. It is not, the category table is not filtering our sales table. So hence it is repeating this value. So since it repeats this value, it's pretty simple, right? So you can divide this one by this one. Simple in Excel, if I put the values directly against each and every furniture sales, what will happen? It's pretty easier, right? You can put this one divided by this one, you can get. So the same thing is happening here. With DAX function we are able to compute the percentage. So now all function is helpful to remove the filter, and it helps us to do some kind of percentage of calculation and ratio calculation. You can do it with the help of all. And we will review the all selected, all except, remove filter, keep filter, and also we will take a look at the difference between calculate function, calculate table on this Monday session once again. Hope if you attend this round 2, round 3, round 4, classes, you should be able to manage. Okay. SQL Server also, I will share you one link. Those of you did not attend my SQL Server, right? That link, playlist link, I will share it to you. You just go through it. That is more than sufficient. Okay. All right. Fine. So anyhow, I'm planning to cover one more session for probably in the round 2 or round 3 itself. I'll cover you the performance tuning point of view. In the interview, the interviewer, what they expect is not only if you are good with the concepts, that is not sufficient. Even if I recruit a 3-year experienced person, if I ask him what is all function, all except, all these things, they can tell. With example, they can tell. But where is that? What is the differentiation? You are saying you are 4 years or 4.5 years experience, and also overall you have 10-year experience. Why should I pay you more? So that's where you need to show differentiation, right? So we'll discuss about performance tuning. I have 2 or 3 case studies. With that, I will demonstrate you both in SQL. SQL Server already demonstrated correlated, non-correlated, using SQL execution plan. We have compared it, right? So obviously the non-correlated subquery, the performance was faster. That's a common sense. Anyhow, you take a look at my Transact SQL related videos also. Hardly 4 or 5 videos, that's all. Okay, and this one you take a look at it. And in Power BI, how do we how do we perform the performance tuning? Okay, how do we rewrite the DAX queries, all the things we can say, and also when to use measure, when to use the calculated column, right, with the given scenario. So when can I use all the calculated column? This is my calculated column. Remember, these are my calculated column, right? These are my calculated column because I use the formula here, right? So I use the formula, here also I use the formula, here I use the aggregation function, right? So it's all formula, hence it is called a calculated column. So the same thing I can use it with, look here, the same sumx function, I used it here also. Same sumx, right? Overall 7.18 approximately, right? So I can probably specify the format so that it will show, see 7.18 approximately, right? That's what it shows there. The moment when I drag and drop it here, it does the filtering automatically. Since I removed, I don't want to do the filtering in this case, right? Only then I can obtain the percentage, right? So the same sumx. So you can use sumx function to do the row by. So even in the case of measure, when I use sumx function, it does the row by row evaluation. It does the row by row. It does the row context, right? Row by row context. So you can implement using the measure also. But the moment when I drag and drop it here, it got filtered, right? It got filtered. So from row context to filter context, so applying the filter on this one also. The difference between sum and sumx, both of them are same. That's what I said, right? Using sum function, you can do aggregation in a single column. If you use sumx function, you can scan the based on the table, right? Whatever the expression you specify, that will get evaluated to your entire table, right? You can use the expression as part of a sumx. You can use more than one column also, but in the case sum function, you can use only one. But behind the scene, when you use a sum function, it get converted as a sumx only. Hence, sum and sumx are same only, more or less same only. Okay. For example, here I use sumx, right? But here when I used the sum of total sales amount, it gives me the same thing, right? So both of them are same only. But then why say sum function? Why sumx function? The sum function is for syntax sugar. We call this syntax sugar. That means to help the developer. So we don't want to confuse the developer by introducing complex thing, right? First argument supposed to be your table, second argument supposed table expression. Instead, simply use sum function, that is enough. Behind the scene, we will convert it as sumx function. Got it? Okay. But you can tell them very clearly sumx is an iterating function, and sum function, what it does is, it does the full thing, right? So it does the aggregation on the entire column. Using sum function, you can perform aggregation on a single column. That's it. So thanks for all your patience. Round to this Monday nights, even I'm pretty hectic. So in spite of that, in the interest of you people, right? Because you trusted me and you came up to me. So I should be in a